Welcome to America Who Died Today. Here, we remember the stars who left their mark on show business and culture. Don't forget to watch the videos till the end to catch all the interesting facts about their lives and careers, and leave your comments. We value your thoughts. Let's celebrate those who may be gone but will always remain in our hearts. Mary Louise Weiss, December 28, 1948 to January 19, 2024, was an American singer and interior designer, a woman whose voice and presence defined an era while leaving an indelible mark on pop music history. Best remembered as the lead singer of the Shangri-Las, Mary Weiss was at the forefront of the 1960s girl group revolution, lending her soulful, haunting vocals to hits that encapsulated teenage angst and love, most notably the legendary single, Leader of the Pack, which topped the Billboard Hot 100 in 1964. Though her career in music was fleeting, Mary's legacy endured across decades, making her a timeless icon in rock history. Early life. Growing up in Queens, Mary Louise Weiss was born on December 28, 1948, in the quiet neighborhood of Cambria Heights, Queens, New York City. She was the youngest of 3 children in a Jewish family that faced hardship early on. Her father, Harry Weiss, tragically passed away when she was just 6 weeks old, leaving her mother, Elizabeth, née Trubig, to raise Mary, her older sister Betty, and brother George alone. It was a life marked by poverty, where survival depended on welfare, occasional handouts, and her mother's resilience. Despite the family's struggles, there was always music in Mary's home. Her brother George, an Elvis Presley devotee, would play rock and roll records and jam with his friends, while Mary eagerly absorbed the sounds. She grew up with a love for music, listening to the Everly Brothers, Roy Orbison, and the emerging rock scene. She also developed her voice early, singing in school choirs and small theatrical productions. At just 14, Mary attended her first Everly Brothers concert at Freedomland USA, a theme park in the Bronx. That concert ignited something in her, a spark that hinted at the rock and roll star she would soon become. The rise of the Shangri-Las. While attending high school, Mary and her older sister Betty befriended Mary Ann and Margie Ganser, twins from the neighborhood. The 4 teenagers shared a love for music, and in 1963, they decided to form a group, naming themselves after a local restaurant, the Shangri-Las. At first, they were just another group of kids singing at school dances and neighborhood events, but their talent quickly caught the attention of local producer Artie Ripp. He gave them their first shot in the studio, but their initial single, Simon Says, released that same year, failed to gain traction. Their big break came in 1964 when the girls signed with Red Bird Records, a label that would soon be associated with some of the most iconic pop hits of the 1960s. Under the mentorship of producer George "Shadow" Morton, a master of dramatic and atmospheric production, the Shangri-Las recorded a string of songs that would capture the imaginations of young listeners. Their first hit, Remember, Walking in the Sand, was a powerful, moody ballad that showcased Mary's deep, resonant voice, a voice that carried both innocence and heartbreak. Later that year, the Shangri-Las released the song that would define their careers, Leader of the Pack. The song was a perfect storm of teen drama, telling the tragic story of forbidden love and loss. With roaring motorcycle sound effects and Weiss's evocative delivery, Leader of the Pack became a cultural phenomenon, reaching number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and solidifying the group's place in music history. The Shangri-Las weren't just another girl group, they were different. While other groups of the era sang sweet harmonies in pastel dresses, the Shangri-Las had an edge. They often wore black leather jackets, their look tougher and more rebellious, mirroring the gritty themes of their songs. They sang about heartbreak, death, and teenage rebellion with an intensity that set them apart, earning them legions of fans, including the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, for whom they opened at concerts. The fate of the spotlight. The success of the Shangri-Las was meteoric, but like many stars of their time, it didn't last long. By 1968, after several years of touring and recording, the group disbanded. The music industry was shifting, and legal disputes with their record label added to their struggles. Weiss, who had been thrust into fame as a teenager, was burned out. Looking for a change, she left New York for San Francisco, where she tried to carve out a different life for herself. during this time, she distanced herself from music completely. Mary married Ed Ryan and focused on building a new career outside the spotlight. She took a job as a purchasing agent for an architectural firm and eventually transitioned into commercial interior design. Her work in design was meticulous and creative, and she found fulfillment in a life far removed from the chaos of the music industry. An unexpected return to music. Despite stepping away from the stage, Mary Weiss never stopped being a figure of fascination for music lovers. Her voice and the Shangri-Las songs continued to influence generations of artists, from punk rockers to alternative musicians. In the 1970s and 1980s, sporadic attempts were made to reunite the group, including an ill-fated deal with Sire Records, but nothing came to fruition. It wasn't until 2005 that Weiss, now in her late 50s, returned to the music scene. Persuaded by friends and admirers, she agreed to record a solo album. For someone who hadn't sung in decades, not even along to the car radio, as she admitted, the idea was daunting. But with Norton Records backing her and the band Raining Sound providing a raw, rock and roll edge, Weiss released Dangerous Game in 2007. The album was a revelation, receiving critical acclaim for its unfiltered, powerful sound. It was a triumphant return for a woman who had long been absent from the public eye, proving that her voice still carried the same magic that had once made her a star. A life of quiet resilience. After her brief re-emergence in music, Weiss settled into a quieter life. She continued her work in commercial design and managed various furniture dealerships. Her career as an interior designer was far from a fallback. She excelled in the field, working on large-scale projects and becoming a respected figure in her profession. By the 2000s, she was consulting for businesses in New York, a testament to her work ethic and determination to reinvent herself. Mary's personal life was as private as her professional life was busy. She and her husband, Ed Ryan, shared a long and steady marriage, weathering life's ups and downs together. Her sister Betty remained a close companion over the years, a reminder of the bond that had carried them through their Shangri-Las days and beyond. Legacy and death. Mary Weiss passed away on January 19, 2024, at the age of 75, in her home in Palm Springs, California, following a battle with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Her death marked the end of an era, leaving her sister Betty as the sole surviving member of the Shangri-Las. Though Mary's time in the spotlight was brief, her impact was profound. The Shangri-Las songs, with their mix of melodrama and grit, helped define the sound of the 1960s and inspired countless musicians across genres. In 2019, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame honored their hit, Leader of the Pack, in its singles category, a fitting tribute to a song and group that captured the spirit of a generation. Mary Louise Weiss was more than a singer, she was a storyteller whose voice brought teenage dreams and heartbreaks to life. She was a survivor, a woman who navigated the challenges of fame, loss, and reinvention with grace. From the streets of Queens to the stages of rock history, Mary Weiss will always be remembered as a leader of the pack. Norman Frederick Jewison Cissy Houston, July 21, 1926 to January 20, 2024, was a Canadian filmmaker celebrated for his ability to tackle complex and topical social issues in cinema while making them accessible to mainstream audiences. Over a distinguished career spanning more than 4 decades, Jewison solidified his reputation as one of the most accomplished directors of his generation, producing work that was at once entertaining, thought-provoking, and socially conscious. Born and raised in Toronto, Ontario, Norman Jewison was the son of Dorothy Irene, née Weaver, and Percy Joseph Jewison, who managed a small convenience store and post office. From an early age, Jewison displayed a creative aptitude, participating in school plays and showing a deep interest in theater. While his surname often led to assumptions that he was of Jewish descent, Jewison and his family were Protestants of English origin, a fact that amused him given the significance of Jewish themes in one of his most famous works, Fiddler on the Roof. During World War II, Jewison served in the Royal Canadian Navy from 1944 to 1945. After the war, he embarked on a transformative journey through the southern United States, where he witnessed the pervasive effects of racial segregation firsthand. This experience would later influence his approach to storytelling, particularly in films addressing racial inequality and civil rights. Jewison attended Victoria College at the University of Toronto, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1949. While at university, he wrote, directed, and acted in numerous productions, honing his creative talents. Post-graduation, he moved to London, where he worked briefly as a scriptwriter and actor for the BBC. However, financial difficulties forced him to return to Canada in the early 1950s, where he secured a position as a production trainee at CBC Television in Toronto. Jewison's career began in earnest at CBC Television, where he contributed as a writer, director, and producer. Throughout the 1950s, he worked on various comedy and musical programs, showcasing his flair for live television. By 1958, his success at CBC led to an invitation to work at NBC in the United States. Jewison made his mark as a director for popular variety shows, including The Andy Williams Show and Your Hit Parade. His work with performers like Harry Belafonte and Judy Garland drew acclaim, particularly his direction of Garland's comeback special in 1961, which also featured Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. It was during this production that actor Tony Curtis suggested Jewison try his hand at directing films, a suggestion that marked a pivotal turning point in his career. In 1962, Jewison made his directorial debut with the comedy 40 Pounds of Trouble, starring Tony Curtis. The film's success established Jewison as a talented newcomer to Hollywood and led to a two-picture deal with Universal Pictures. Over the next few years, he directed a series of light-hearted comedies, including The Thrill of It All, 1963, and Send Me No Flowers, 1964, both of which starred Doris Day and James Garner. While these films were commercially successful, Jewison soon sought to transition away from comedies toward more serious, meaningful material. Jewison's artistic breakthrough came with The Cincinnati Kid, 1965, a gritty drama about a high-stakes poker player starring Steve McQueen. The film allowed Jewison to demonstrate his versatility as a filmmaker and marked a departure from the comedic genre. It was quickly followed by The Russians Are Coming, 1966, a satirical comedy about Cold War paranoia. The film, which Jewison also produced, earned 4 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, and highlighted his emerging ability to blend humor with social commentary. In 1967, Jewison directed what is perhaps his most impactful and socially relevant film, In the Heat of the Night. The gripping crime drama, set in a racially divided southern town, starred Sidney Poitier as a black detective and Rod Steiger as a local police chief. The film tackled themes of racism and systemic injustice with unflinching honesty and earned 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Jewison himself received his first nomination for Best Director, solidifying his reputation as a socially conscious filmmaker willing to confront difficult topics. The success of In the Heat of the Night resonated deeply during the turbulent civil rights era, and its themes remain relevant to this day. Jewison's next notable project was The Thomas Crown Affair, 1968, a stylish crime caper starring Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. Known for its innovative split-screen imagery, the film showcased Jewison's technical ingenuity and further broadened his directorial portfolio. By the late 1960s, Jewison had established himself as a versatile filmmaker with a unique ability to balance entertainment with substance. In 1971, Jewison directed Fiddler on the Roof, a film adaptation of the Broadway musical about Jewish life in a pre-revolutionary Russian village. The film was a critical and commercial triumph, earning 3 Academy Awards and 5 additional nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director. Jewison's empathetic and authentic portrayal of Jewish traditions and struggles resonated with audiences worldwide, making Fiddler on the Roof one of his most iconic works. Following Fiddler, Jewison directed Jesus Christ Superstar, 1973, another film adaptation of a stage musical. Set against the backdrop of Israel, the film brought Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice's rock opera to the big screen and sparked both controversy and acclaim for its unconventional portrayal of the final days of Jesus Christ. In 1975, Jewison explored themes of corporate control and violence with Rollerball, a dystopian science fiction film set in a future where brutal sports serve as a form of mass entertainment. The film's critique of corporate power and its portrayal of societal decay demonstrated Jewison's continued commitment to tackling provocative subjects. The late 1970s saw Jewison return to the theme of social injustice with Weiss, 1978, a drama inspired by the life of labor leader Jimmy Hoffa, and Justice for All, 1979, a legal satire starring Al Pacino. Both films underscored Jewison's ability to engage with political and moral dilemmas while maintaining mass appeal. In 1984, Jewison directed A Soldier's Story, a powerful drama about racism within the U.S. military during World War II. The film earned 3 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, and reaffirmed Jewison's skill at addressing racial and social themes. This was followed by Agnes of God, 1985, a haunting drama set in a convent, and Moonstruck, 1987, a romantic comedy starring Cher and Nicolas Cage. Moonstruck was a critical and commercial success, earning 3 Academy Awards, including Best Actress for Cher, and securing Jewison his 3rd nomination for Best Director. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Jewison continued to produce and direct films that reflected his passion for meaningful storytelling. The Hurricane, 1999, starring Denzel Washington as wrongly imprisoned boxer Reuben "Hurricane" Carter, marked one of Jewison's final critical successes. The film highlighted racial injustice and earned Washington a Golden Globe Award. In addition to his filmmaking, Jewison made significant contributions to Canadian cinema. In 1988, he founded the Canadian Film Centre, CFC, an institution dedicated to nurturing emerging Canadian filmmakers and content creators. The CFC has since become a cornerstone of Canada's film and television industry, producing numerous successful alumni. Jewison's impact extended beyond his creative output. He was the recipient of numerous honors, including the Academy's Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award in 1999 for lifetime achievement. He also received Canada's Governor-General's Performing Arts Award and was made a Companion of the Order of Canada, the country's highest civilian honor. Jewison married Margaret and Dixie Dixon in 1953, and the couple had 3 children. After her death in 2004, Jewison married Lynn St. David in 2010. Despite his international success, Jewison remained deeply connected to Canada, where he maintained a home and continued to champion Canadian talent. Norman Jewison passed away on January 20, 2024, at the age of 97. His legacy as a filmmaker who combined entertainment with social commentary endures, with films like In the Heat of the Night, Fiddler on the Roof, and Moonstruck continuing to resonate with audiences worldwide. Jewison's work remains a testament to the power of cinema to inspire change, provoke thought, and celebrate the shared humanity of people across the globe. David Michael Emge, September 9, 1946 to January 20, 2024, was an American actor, widely recognized for his portrayal of Stephen "Flyboy" Andrews in Romero's groundbreaking horror film Dawn of the Dead. His memorable performance in this cult classic secured his legacy in the horror film genre and cemented his place in cinematic history. Emge was born on September 9, 1946, in Evansville, Indiana. During his college years, he demonstrated an early passion for acting and developed his skills in theater productions. Among his notable classmates was Ron Glass, who would later gain widespread recognition for his role in the television sitcom Barney Miller. Their shared experiences in acting at an early stage reflected the strong theatrical culture of their time. Following his education, Emge relocated to New York City, where he pursued acting while working as a chef in a local restaurant. It was in this unassuming setting that he crossed paths with director George A. Romero, the influential filmmaker who revolutionized the horror genre. Impressed by Emge's presence, Romero offered him the role of Stephen "Flyboy" Andrews in Dawn of the Dead, 1978. This career-defining role would become synonymous with Emge's name. Dawn of the Dead was not just another horror film, it was a pioneering work that redefined the zombie genre. Released in 1978, the film served as the second installment in Romero's Night of the Living Dead series and addressed themes of consumerism, societal collapse, and survival, all while showcasing visceral and revolutionary horror imagery. In the film, Emge's character, Stephen, a helicopter pilot, played a central role as part of the group of survivors taking refuge in a shopping mall during a zombie apocalypse. His portrayal balanced heroism with vulnerability, as Steven evolves from a cautious pilot to an ultimately tragic victim of the undead siege. The infamous Flyboy zombie scene, in which his zombified character stumbles with a distinctive gait, remains one of the most iconic moments in horror cinema. The success of Dawn of the Dead catapulted Emge into cult status within horror fan circles. Though he did not become a mainstream Hollywood actor, his performance earned him a loyal following, particularly in horror conventions and genre film festivals. Over the decades, Emge continued to engage with his fans, attending conventions and participating in interviews to discuss his experiences working on the film and his relationship with George Romero's legacy. Despite Dawn of the Dead being his most well-known work, Emge's career extended beyond Romero's film. In 1975, he appeared in The Booby Hatch, an independent comedy film where he played Angelo Fettuccini. Following Dawn of the Dead, Emge took on a few additional roles that leaned toward niche horror films. In Basket Case 2, 1990, he portrayed Half Moon, a character that contributed to the film's eccentric and bizarre tone, further showcasing his affinity for unconventional and cult roles. 2 years later, he starred as Robert in Hellmaster, 1992, a low-budget horror film that reinforced his presence within the genre's independent scene. Emge largely kept a low profile outside of his acting career, occasionally stepping back into the spotlight for fan events or retrospectives. By 2007, he remained active in genre conventions, where his dedicated fan base continued to celebrate his contributions to horror cinema. Through these events, Emge expressed gratitude for the enduring admiration his work had received over the years, sharing stories from the set and reflecting on the lasting cultural impact of Dawn of the Dead. On January 20, 2024, David Emge passed away in his hometown of Evansville, Indiana, at the age of 77. His death marked the end of an era for fans of Romero's cinematic universe and horror enthusiasts worldwide. Tributes from fans and film historians alike highlighted his legacy as an essential figure in horror history, whose performance in Dawn of the Dead helped define one of the most influential zombie films ever made. Emge's portrayal of Steven, Flyboy, remains etched in popular culture, particularly for its transformation of the character into an iconic member of the undead. David Emge's body of work, though limited, speaks volumes about his ability to leave a lasting impression on the genre he embraced. His role in Dawn of the Dead paved the way for modern zombie films and series, inspiring countless creators and performers who have built upon the foundation laid by Romero and his cast. The film's ongoing cultural relevance ensures that Emge's performance will continue to be revisited and appreciated by future generations of horror fans. Though he spent much of his life away from the mainstream spotlight, David Emge's enduring presence at fan conventions and retrospectives demonstrated his commitment to the community that celebrated him. His legacy serves as a testament to the impact one performance can have when coupled with a visionary filmmaker and a timeless story. Emge's contribution to Dawn of the Dead immortalized him as a cornerstone of zombie horror cinema, forever remembered as Flyboy. Andrews, ***, filmography ***, The Booby Hatch, 1975, Angelo Fettuccini, Dawn of the Dead, 1978, Steven, Flyboy. Andrews, Basket Case 2, 1990, Half Moon, Hellmaster, 1992. Robert David Emge's story is a reminder of how great art transcends time and popularity. While his filmography may not have been extensive, his performance in Dawn of the Dead remains legendary. He carved out a unique space for himself in film history and will continue to be celebrated as an enduring figure in horror cinema. Cissy Houston, born Emily Drinkard on September 30, 1933, in Newark, New Jersey, is an iconic American gospel and soul singer, best known as the mother of legendary singer Whitney Houston. A towering figure in the world of music, Cissy's own career as a solo artist, as well as her extensive work as a backup vocalist and collaborator with some of the biggest names in the music industry, has earned her widespread recognition and respect. Her journey to stardom is one that is deeply intertwined with the evolution of American music, spanning gospel, soul, R&B, and pop genres. Cissy Houston was born into a musical family. Her mother, Delia, was a gospel singer, and her father, who was also musically inclined, was an entrepreneur. Raised in the church, Cissy was exposed to gospel music at an early age, and she quickly became a talented vocalist. The Drinkard family had deep roots in the gospel music community, and it wasn't long before Cissy became a member of the Drinkard Singers, a gospel group that was pivotal in shaping her vocal style and passion for music. Her natural talent caught the attention of gospel music producer, Roberta Martin, and by the early 1950s, Cissy began her professional career as a backup singer for some of the biggest names in gospel music. As a young woman, she moved to New York City, where she expanded her reach into the secular music world, performing with jazz and pop artists as well. Cissy's voice was described as powerful and emotive, and this would prove to be her signature throughout her career. Her work as a backup singer began to garner recognition, and soon she was called upon to lend her vocals to a wide array of prominent artists and projects. By the 1960s, Cissy Houston's career as a background singer had gained serious momentum. She became one of the most sought-after backup vocalists in the music industry. One of her most significant collaborations was with the legendary producer and songwriter, Burt Bacharach. Cissy became one of the regular background vocalists for Bacharach's hit-making productions, contributing to songs by artists such as Dionne Warwick, whose own background vocal arrangements often included Cissy's powerful voice. At this time, Cissy Houston was also involved in numerous other studio sessions, working with famous names like Aretha Franklin, Elvis Presley, and Wilson Pickett. Her rich, soulful voice became a fixture in the soundtracks of 1960s and 1970s pop and R&B music. Cissy's contributions to these recordings played a crucial role in shaping the era's sound, and her versatility made her an indispensable member of various studio sessions. It was clear that Cissy had the range and style to make a name for herself beyond being a backup singer. In the 1970s, Cissy Houston began to shift her focus to a solo career. She signed with the RCA Records label and released her debut album, Cissy Houston, in 1970. The album received moderate success, featuring a blend of gospel, soul, and pop influences. The standout track from the album was her cover of Be My Baby, originally by the Ronettes, which showcased her powerful vocal delivery and her ability to blend various genres seamlessly. Though the album did not produce massive commercial success, Cissy's voice began to gain recognition, and she continued to release music throughout the 1970s and into the 1980s. During this period, she also expanded her reach, recording songs that reflected both her gospel roots and her burgeoning soul and pop influence. One of the defining moments in Cissy Houston's solo career came in 1977 with the release of her album I'm Your Friend. The album featured a mix of soul and pop music, with Cissy delivering her signature vocals on every track. It was during this time that she also gained a reputation as a mentor and guide for younger artists, including her daughter, Whitney Houston, who would later become one of the most successful and influential pop stars of all time. Cissy Houston's impact on the music industry extended far beyond her own performances and recordings. She was also a major influence on her daughter Whitney Houston, who was born in 1963. From an early age, Whitney showed an exceptional talent for singing, and Cissy played a significant role in nurturing her daughter's musical abilities. Cissy Houston's gospel and soul influences shaped Whitney's vocal technique, and she often guided her daughter through the challenges of the music industry. As a mother, Cissy was fiercely protective of Whitney and played a vital role in ensuring that her daughter's career was built on a foundation of strong vocal training and spiritual integrity. Whitney would later go on to become a global icon, known for her powerful voice and unmatched vocal range. Cissy Houston, who had already established herself as a respected artist in her own right, continued to work as a backup singer and solo artist during Whitney's rise to fame. However, Cissy remained supportive of her daughter's career and often took a behind-the-scenes role, stepping back to allow Whitney to shine. In the 1980s, as Whitney's career took off, Cissy also found herself at the center of the public's attention due to her connection with her daughter. Despite the immense pressure that came with being the mother of one of the most successful pop stars in history, Cissy remained a steady force in Whitney's life and career. Though Cissy Houston's solo career never reached the same commercial heights as Whitney's, she continued to enjoy success as both a solo artist and a backup singer. In 1993, Cissy released Face to Face, an album that was well received by fans of gospel and soul music. The album showcased her gospel roots, as well as her ability to blend contemporary sounds into her work. Despite facing health challenges in the later years of her career, Cissy continued to tour and perform, often appearing at gospel and R&B events, where her powerful voice was always met with admiration. Beyond her own career, Cissy Houston's legacy is deeply intertwined with the rise of Whitney Houston, whose career tragically came to an end in 2012. Following Whitney's death, Cissy was left to grapple with the profound loss of her daughter. In the years following, she continued to honor Whitney's memory and legacy, speaking publicly about their relationship and the challenges that they both faced in the music industry. Cissy's contributions to the world of music are vast and immeasurable. As a backup vocalist, she was a vital part of the soundtracks to countless iconic recordings in the 1960s and 1970s. As a solo artist, she made significant strides in blending gospel, soul, and pop music. And as a mother, she was instrumental in shaping the career of Whitney Houston, who would go on to become one of the best-selling music artists of all time. In addition to her work as a performer, Cissy Houston is remembered as a mentor to countless aspiring vocalists and as a woman of deep faith and conviction. Her music, which spans decades of American popular music, continues to influence artists in the gospel, soul, and R&B genres. Cissy Houston's influence on the music world is immeasurable. She has left an indelible mark on the legacy of gospel and soul music, and her own contributions as a solo artist and as a backup singer are remembered fondly by fans and musicians alike. Her role in the development of Whitney Houston's career remains one of the most important elements of her legacy, and she will forever be remembered as a pioneer in American music. Today, Cissy Houston's impact on the music world remains strong. Though she has not released as much new music in recent years, her influence continues to be felt in the works of young artists who look up to her as a vocal role model. Her enduring legacy as one of the most important and influential voices in American music will continue to inspire for generations to come. Richard Gere is a celebrated American actor, producer, and humanitarian whose career has spanned decades, earning him a reputation as one of Hollywood's most enduring and versatile stars. Born on August 31, 1949, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Gere became a household name through his work in films that combined his striking looks, commanding screen presence, and emotional depth. Beyond acting, he is known for his passionate activism on human rights and social justice issues, particularly for his work advocating for Tibet and other humanitarian causes. Early life and education. Richard Tiffany Gere was born into a working-class family. His father, Homer George Gere, was an insurance agent, and his mother, Doris Ann, was a homemaker. Gere was the second of 5 children and grew up in Syracuse, New York. From a young age, he displayed a keen interest in music and the arts, excelling at playing the trumpet and showing an aptitude for gymnastics. After graduating high school in 1967, Gere attended the University of Massachusetts Amherst on a gymnastics scholarship, where he initially majored in philosophy. However, he left college before completing his degree to pursue a career in acting, a decision that would ultimately shape his life. Early career in theater. Gere's first foray into professional acting came through theater. In the early 1970s, he performed in regional productions and off-Broadway plays, honing his craft and earning recognition for his talent. His breakthrough came in 1973 when he was cast in the lead role of Danny Zuko in the London production of the musical Grease. Gere's performance demonstrated his charisma and stage presence, setting the stage for his transition into film. Rise to stardom. Gere's film career began in earnest with small roles in movies such as Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977, where he played a troubled drifter. However, it was his performance in Days of Heaven, 1978, directed by Terrence Malick, that brought him critical acclaim. The film, known for its stunning cinematography and poetic storytelling, showcased Gere's ability to convey complex emotions with minimal dialogue, earning him recognition as a serious actor. His breakout role came in 1980 with American Gigolo, a film that cemented his status as a Hollywood leading man and a sex symbol. Directed by Paul Schrader, the film featured Gere as Julian Kay, a high-end escort navigating the complexities of love, power, and betrayal. His suave, stylish performance captured the zeitgeist of the era and established him as a cultural icon. In 1982, Gere further solidified his stardom with An Officer and a Gentleman. Playing Zach Mayo, a troubled naval officer candidate, Gere delivered a performance that was both rugged and vulnerable. The film, co-starring Deborah Winger, was a massive commercial success and featured one of the most iconic romantic scenes in cinema history, where Gere's character sweeps Winger's character off her feet. The role earned him a Golden Globe nomination and remains one of his most beloved performances. Career highlights and iconic roles throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Gere continued to showcase his versatility, taking on a variety of roles that ranged from romantic leads to morally complex characters. One of his most iconic films is Pretty Woman, 1990, in which he starred opposite Julia Roberts. The romantic comedy, directed by Gary Marshall, became a global phenomenon and one of the highest-grossing films of its time. Gere's portrayal of Edward Lewis, a wealthy businessman who falls in love with a spirited sex worker, showcased his charm and chemistry with Roberts, making the film a classic. Gere's collaboration with Julia Roberts was so well received that they reunited for Runaway Bride, 1999, another romantic comedy that delighted audiences. In both films, Gere demonstrated his ability to balance humor, romance, and dramatic depth, cementing his status as a romantic lead. In addition to romantic films, Gere took on challenging dramatic roles. In Primal Fear, 1996, he played a defense attorney representing a young altar boy accused of murder, a role that allowed him to explore moral ambiguity and legal drama. The film was a critical and commercial success, and Gere's performance was praised for its intensity and complexity. Another standout performance came in Chicago, 2002, a musical film adaptation in which Gere played Billy Flynn, a charismatic lawyer. His portrayal earned him a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. Gere's ability to sing and dance added another dimension to his repertoire, proving his talent extended beyond traditional acting, activism and humanitarian work. While Gere's film career has been extraordinary, his off-screen work as a humanitarian and activist is equally remarkable. A devout Buddhist, Gere became deeply involved in advocating for Tibetan independence after meeting the Dalai Lama in the 1980s. He co-founded the Tibet House US, a non-profit organization dedicated to preserving Tibetan culture, and the Gere Foundation, which supports human rights, education, and health initiatives worldwide. Gere has frequently used his platform to speak out on global issues, including human rights violations in Tibet and the plight of refugees. His activism has occasionally brought controversy, such as when he was banned from the Academy Awards in 1993 after making a speech about China's policies toward Tibet. Nevertheless, Gere remained steadfast in his commitment to humanitarian causes. In addition to his work for Tibet, Gere has been involved in efforts to combat homelessness and HIV/AIDS. He has supported numerous charities and organizations, including Habitat for Humanity and Amnesty International. His dedication to philanthropy has earned him numerous accolades, including the Marian Anderson Award for Humanitarian Work. Later career and recognition. In recent years, Gere has taken on more introspective and independent film projects, often focusing on characters grappling with moral dilemmas or personal crises. Films such as Arbitrage, 2012, in which he played a morally compromised hedge fund manager, and Norman, The Moderate Rise and Tragic Fall of a New York Fixer, 2016, received critical acclaim for their nuanced portrayals. Despite stepping back from mainstream Hollywood blockbusters, Gere's work has remained relevant and respected. His performances continue to demonstrate his ability to bring depth and humanity to his characters, and his status as a Hollywood legend remains intact. Personal life. Gere's personal life has often attracted media attention. He was married to supermodel Cindy Crawford from 1991 to 1995, a high-profile relationship that garnered significant public interest. In 2002, he married actress and model Carrie Lowell, with whom he has a son, Homer. The couple divorced in 2016. Gere later married Spanish publicist Alejandra Silva in 2018, and the couple has 2 children together. Gere's commitment to Buddhism and meditation has been a central aspect of his life. He often credits his spiritual practice with helping him maintain balance and perspective amid the pressures of Hollywood and activism. Legacy. Richard Gere's legacy is multifaceted, encompassing his contributions to cinema, his dedication to humanitarian causes, and his advocacy for social justice. His iconic roles in films like Pretty Woman and An Officer and a Gentleman have left an indelible mark on popular culture, while his more complex performances in films like Primal Fear and Arbitrage showcase his range as an actor. Beyond his artistic achievements, Gere's tireless efforts to promote human rights and compassion have made him a role model and an inspiration to many. His work reminds us that fame can be a powerful tool for creating positive change in the world. As an actor, activist, and philanthropist, Richard Gere continues to embody the ideals of empathy, resilience, and artistic excellence. His career serves as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and the importance of using one's platform to make a difference. Thank you for watching this video. May the memory of these outstanding people continue to inspire us all. We cannot change the course of time, but we can keep in mind their contribution and significance. If this video has affected you or you want to know more, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment. Let's continue to share their stories and keep the memory of them together. See you soon, and remember that those we love never leave without a trace.